The mighty Colosseum needs no introduction. It's the most iconic monument from ancient Rome.
Officially named the Flavian Amphitheater, this monumental arena was built by Emperors Vespasian and Titus in the late 1st century AD, and today is the most visited tourist attraction in all of Italy.
But the name we use today, the Colosseum, comes from the colossal statue of Nero that once stood here nearby.
Originally depicting Nero as a sun god, it remained after his death, a lingering monument to his imperial hubris. The Flavian emperors reclaimed the space, once part of Nero's private palace complex, the Domus Aurea, or the Golden House, and gave it back to the people. It was a powerful gesture, transforming an emperor's lake into a public arena, a symbol of new leadership and civic generosity.
The Colosseum is just an absolutely remarkable building, and it's set the standard for sporting arenas ever since.
The Colosseum could hold 50,000 spectators and was the site of exotic animal hunts, public executions, gladiator battles, and apparently even a naval reenactment when the Colosseum arena was flooded. These bloody spectacles had deep roots, however. They evolved from gladiatorial funerary games, originally staged to honor the dead. And in fact, the Colosseum was inaugurated just after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. Perhaps a way to process the immense tragedy and loss, including the death toll from Pompeii and Herculaneum. And yet the arena was also an engineering marvel. It was the tallest building in ancient Rome, designed with a retractable awning system with shades to cover the crowd, equipped with a maze of underground chambers and elevators used to raise animals and fighters into the arena, and built with advanced crowd control, allowing tens of thousands to enter and exit in just minutes, a feat modern stadiums still aspire to.
Sadly, we don't have the awning still here to keep us out of the hot Roman summer sun.
And just next door was the Ludus Magnus, the largest gladiator training school in the empire.
You can just imagine the energy, the atmosphere of over 50,000 Romans watching the beast hunts, the executions, and of course, the famous gladiatorial games, the spectacles. And just at the far end, behind us on the floor, was the gladiator entrance where they would come into the arena. If they were lucky enough to make it out, they would exit on the other side. Making our way into the Colosseum, through the Imperial entrance, to the Imperial box where the emperors would have watched the games.
In many ways, the Colosseum encapsulates the very soul of Rome, its spectacle, violence, its ingenuity, and hunger to impress. It's both a monument to imperial power and a stage for the drama of the Roman people. But spectacle wasn't the only way the emperors demonstrated their power either. If the Colosseum was where they impressed the people, the Imperial Forums were where they immortalized themselves.
The first to make that leap wasn't even an emperor yet. It was Julius Caesar, and his forum is just up the road. This is the Forum of Julius Caesar, the very first of the Imperial Forums.
By the late Republic, the Roman Forum had become too crowded for the growing needs of the state. So Caesar decided to carve out his own space right next to it. He built a new forum, anchored by the Temple of Venus Genetrix, Venus the Mother, divine ancestor of the Julian family. It was a bold statement, Rome's greatest general declaring his divine lineage for all to see. Caesar even held Senate meetings there, a way of drawing power away from the traditional curia into his own orbit. After his assassination, the forum continued to evolve. Later emperors, including Trajan, would rebuild and expand parts of it as they shaped the city around their own legacies. And the next to do so was the man who claimed Caesar's own name and his mission. The first true emperor of Rome, the adopted son of Caesar, and the architect of a whole new vision for imperial power.
The Forum of Augustus is part monument and part message, and at its heart is the Temple of Mars the Avenger, the god of war and also justice.
The Forum was built to fulfill a vow he had made at the Battle of Philippi, where he defeated Caesar's assassins. It wasn't just about honoring the gods, it was about reshaping the past. Lining the Forum were rows of statues of Rome's greatest heroes, all culminating with Augustus himself, a carefully curated legacy, a family of greatness, with him at the end of the line.
And just nearby is also Trajan's Forum, which wasn't just about worship and symbolism. It was a functioning civic space with libraries, legal offices, and yes, even the world's very first shopping mall.
If Augustus built to secure his place in history, Trajan built to show the strength of an empire at its peak. Fresh off his conquest of Dacia, Trajan commissioned the largest forum ever built in Rome, so massive that a whole ridge of land had to be excavated just to make room. The result was a marvel of civic space, a basilica, twin libraries, and the famous markets of Trajan.
It's also a remarkable feat of Roman engineering, as they had to carve it out of the side of the
Quirinal Hill.
And of course it was his famous architect and engineer, Apollodorus, that was up to the task.
Trajan's Forum was a jewel of imperial Rome, and so was the emperor himself. When we picture the Roman Empire at its greatest territorial reach, from Britain to Mesopotamia, that map was drawn under Trajan. His conquest of Dacia, which was one of the last provinces to be annexed, wasn't just one of his greatest military victories. It became a story carved in stone, which is still visible for us to see just next door.
This isn't just art and architecture, it's history, an entire campaign written in stone, one of logistics, legacy, and conquest. And at the base, the emperor himself.
Rising nearly 100 feet tall, Trajan's column spirals with a marble frieze over 600 feet long, a continuous narrative of the Dacian Wars. From crossing the Danube to the surrender of the Dacians, it gives us extraordinary detail, not just battles, but equipment, construction methods, even how the Roman army camped and marched. And while the emperor once stood atop the column, since the late 1500s, it's been crowned by a statue of St. Peter, a reminder of how Rome's sacred landmarks often outlived the emperors that built them.
Just came up the Aventine Hill to have a little break, see some of the spectacular views from up here, and enjoy some of the shade, get out of the sun. We've got a nice saxophonist playing behind us, which is lovely. Feel like I'm just about to see Varenus and Pullo walk up here, but sadly it might be waiting a while for them.
A half-century later, another emperor, Marcus Aurelius, would build his own column modeled after Trajan's, but the empire he ruled was no longer expanding. Though remembered as one of the 5 good emperors, Marcus reigned through wars, plagues, and much turmoil in the empire.
The column of Marcus Aurelius, here in Piazza Colonna, was based off of Trajan's column and built to commemorate his victories in the Marcomanni Wars.
Compared to Trajan's column, Marcus's is physically bulkier and darker, more dramatic, floods, divine interventions, violent reprisals. The empire was under strain, and so was the emperor, who wouldn't even see it completed as it was finished just after his death. Rather than just celebrating victory, the column seems to capture the weight of perseverance, fitting for a philosopher king who led Rome through plague, invasion, and unrest.
It's no wonder that the man who would have rather been a philosopher than emperor found so much solace in Stoicism. It's remarkable and super fortunate that his incredible work, Meditations, has come down to us to pass on the wisdom and experience and really hear the personal journey and drama of a man who was the most powerful in the world in the end of the Pax Romana in the 2nd century AD.
The death of Marcus Aurelius marked the end of the Pax Romana, the golden age of internal peace. But before that curtain fell, another one of Rome's most remarkable emperors had already left his mark, Hadrian. Also counted amongst the 5 good emperors, Hadrian was more than just a ruler. He was a traveler, a scholar, and above all, a builder. Where Trajan expanded the empire, Hadrian consolidated it, famously marking its boundary with Hadrian's Wall in the north of Britain, a line in stone saying, "Rome goes no further." But here in the capital, he left behind one of the most enduring masterpieces of ancient architecture, a temple built to all the gods.
This is the magnificent Pantheon, the best preserved monument from ancient Rome. It's a temple, an engineering marvel, and a time capsule of imperial ambition, all wrapped into one.
Although the inscription we see outside still reads, "Built by Marcus Agrippa, Augustus's right-hand man," what we see today is Hadrian's reconstruction, completed around 126 AD. He kept the original inscription, a nod to Rome's past, but what he built was revolutionary.
The remarkable dome is 43 meters wide and remains the largest unreinforced dome anywhere in the world
nearly 1900 years after its construction.
The engineering here is just remarkable, but particularly in the dome. It gets lighter and thinner as it goes up, as the concrete was used with volcanic pumice and ash, and at the center of the dome is the oculus, which is open to the sky and lets in a column of light that you can see just behind me that tracks the interior like a sundial.
The proportions themselves are remarkable. From the height of the floor to the oculus equals the diameter of the dome itself. It's not just a temple, it's a cosmic statement. It was a building that made you feel the presence of the divine and the permanence of Rome.
The ancients had an incredible understanding of the cosmos. On April 21st, on the anniversary of the founding of the city of Rome, the light from the oculus will hit the marble arch just above the entranceway, illuminating those who stand beneath it. No matter how many times I enter the Pantheon or turn the corner into the square and see the remarkable structure, I can't help but be in awe of the incredible majesty of this building. Built nearly 2,000 years ago, without calculus, with no computers. It's just unbelievable. Really, truly magnificent.
After the fall of the empire, the Pantheon survived because it was converted into a church, which preserved it from destruction. And eventually, it became the resting place of kings and artists, including Raphael himself, the remarkable Renaissance painter.
We're now going to head across the River Tiber and see another monument that's often forgotten, that it also was a work of Hadrian. Just across the River Tiber stands the Grand Mausoleum of Emperor Hadrian, a towering symbol to power and permanence. Over the centuries, however, it's been turned into a fortress, a prison, and a papal stronghold connected to the Vatican and the papal residency through a secret passageway. Today, we know it as Castel Sant'Angelo.
When Hadrian died in 138 AD, his ashes were placed in this monumental tomb, designed to rival Augustus's mausoleum, and was located just beyond the ancient city walls. In its prime, it was a massive drum topped by a golden quadriga, a chariot pulled by 4 horses, gleaming in the sun.
Just arrived inside Castello di Sant'Angelo in the atrium, and behind me is where the massive statue of Hadrian would have been. You can just imagine up here, going up the spiral staircase, the funeral procession, actually walking up this and taking his ashes to be interred here in the mausoleum. And the entryway is also aligned perfectly with the bridge in front, the Pons Aelius, which Hadrian himself commissioned as well.
Over the centuries, this imperial resting place was repurposed by the popes. During sieges and attacks, they even built a fortified corridor, linking it directly to St. Peter's Basilica, allowing them to escape or hide in times of danger.
As I stand atop the terrace, I just can't help but wonder what Hadrian himself might have thought as this changed over the centuries, becoming a papal fortress, of course, now in modern times, an incredibly famous tourist attraction. And of course, we no longer have Hadrian atop a 4-horse chariot. We've got the famous angel at the top. But Hadrian himself was a very pragmatic man, so perhaps he would have understood.
Hadrian's era was one of stability, but the empire wouldn't stay that way for long. A century later, Rome plunged into the crisis of the 3rd century, a time of civil war, economic collapse, and a rapid turnover of emperors. But out of this chaos emerged a new order, and a new faith would rise from the shadows. Next time, we'll explore Rome's transformation from the heart of an empire into the eternal city. And if you'd like to join us on future journeys through places like these and explore them in person, be sure to sign up to the mailing list below for future tours and updates. We'll see you in the next one.